Start with a dramatic hook describing the shocking moment you discovered your ranch was being auctioned without your permission, and the HOA Karen calling 911 on you when you arrived early from your trip. Hi, I'm your name, and I've been the proud owner of my ranch for over 5 years. This land isn't just property to me, it's where I've built memories, found peace, and invested my heart and soul. Every corner of that ranch tells a story, and I never imagined anyone could threaten something so personal. Recently, I took a trip to visit family out of state, planning to return in a few weeks refreshed and ready to get back to my ranch life. I had no idea that while I was away, trouble was brewing right under my nose. You see, the Homeowners Association, HOA, that oversees our community has always been a little strict, but I never expected the lengths they would go. And then there's Karen, a name I wish I could forget. She's one of those overzealous HOA members who think she's above everyone else, enforcing rules with an iron fist and no empathy. Little did I know, Karen's obsession with control would lead her to make a shocking move, trying to auction off my own ranch while I was still away. This is the story of how I came back early and faced the unbelievable. While I was still away on my trip, I got a call that made my heart stop. A neighbor I trusted called to tell me that my ranch was being auctioned off, right now, without my knowledge or consent. At first, I thought it was some kind of cruel joke. How could they auction my ranch, the place I've cared for so deeply, without even telling me? The culprit was the Homeowners Association, or HOA, which is supposed to manage our community and ensure things run smoothly. But in this case, it seemed like they had taken things way too far. According to the HOA, I was behind on my dues, fees that I had always paid on time. They claimed there were outstanding violations on my property, vague enough to sound like a convenient excuse. Then there was Karen, the HOA board member known for her relentless enforcement and zero tolerance for anything she saw as breaking the rules. It became clear she had a personal vendetta against me and was the driving force behind this auction. I was shocked that she could push the HOA to try and take my ranch away without so much as a proper warning or discussion. The thought of losing my ranch because of a misunderstanding, or worse, someone's personal grudge, was devastating. I immediately started calling the HOA office, demanding explanations, but the responses were cold and dismissive. The auction date was set just days away. I felt completely blindsided. How could something so serious happen while I was out of town? I realized I had to act fast if I wanted to save what was rightfully mine. That's when I decided to cut my trip short and return home early. But little did I know, the fight waiting for me would be even more intense than I imagined. As soon as I learned about the auction, I knew I had to get home immediately. I cut my trip short, booked the earliest flight, and headed straight to my ranch. The thought of losing everything I had worked for was unbearable. When I arrived, the sun was just beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the familiar landscape I'd missed so much. But the peaceful view was shattered the moment I pulled up to the entrance. Karen was standing there, arms crossed, with a cold, triumphant look on her face. "Back early, huh?" she sneered. "I thought you'd be gone for good." I stepped out of my car, my heart pounding. "Karen, what's going on? Why is my property being auctioned? I paid all my fees. This isn't right." She smirked and didn't answer directly. Instead, she called out, "I'm calling the police." Before I could react, I saw her pull out her phone and dial 911. My jaw dropped. "Are you serious? I'm the owner. What possible reason do you have to call the police on me?" Karen raised her voice. "You're trespassing. You're interfering with a legal HOA process. You're creating a scene." My blood boiled. "This is my ranch. You have no right to treat me like this." Neighbors began to gather, some curious, others shocked by the unfolding drama. I saw familiar faces whispering and exchanging glances, some supportive, some unsure what to think. The police arrived quickly, their expressions professional but cautious. I calmly explained my side, that I was the rightful owner and had been blindsided by an auction that I had no knowledge of. I showed them documents proving my ownership and payment history. Karen argued her version, insisting the HOA had the right to proceed due to alleged violations and unpaid fees. The officers listened, then advised that this was a civil dispute, not a criminal matter. They told us to resolve it through the courts and warned everyone to avoid escalation. As the officers left, Karen glared at me. "This isn't over. You'll regret coming back early." I looked her straight in the eyes and said firmly, "I'm not going anywhere. This ranch is mine, and I'll fight to keep it." That moment was a turning point. Despite Karen's attempt to intimidate me with the police, I refused to be silenced or pushed out. The emotions were raw: frustration, anger, but also determination. I realized I wasn't alone. Some neighbors approached me quietly, expressing sympathy and support. What had started as a simple trip home had turned into a battle for my own property, and I was ready to fight with everything I had. After the intense confrontation with Karen and the police, I knew this fight was far from over. The Homeowners Association wasn't backing down. They insisted that their actions were justified by the community's rules, and I needed to understand exactly what I was up against. The HOA claimed that I had failed to pay several months' worth of association dues. According to their records, unpaid fees had accumulated to a significant amount, and under their bylaws, this allowed them to initiate a lien on my property. Once the lien was in place, they argued, they were legally entitled to auction off the ranch to recover the debt. They also cited alleged violations on my property, things like overgrown landscaping and unauthorized modifications that, according to them, breached community standards. To me, these were minor issues that I had either addressed or planned to fix, and certainly not reasons to lose ownership of my home. Karen was front and center in pushing this narrative. She presented herself as the vigilant enforcer of the HOA's rules, often dismissing my explanations and requests for leniency. It felt less like a community board and more like a personal vendetta. I immediately began gathering every piece of evidence I could find: payment receipts, bank statements, emails, and photographs showing the condition of my property. I also requested copies of all HOA communications to me, hoping to find any discrepancies or proof of improper procedure. I quickly realized that the HOA had failed to send me proper notices in some cases, or had delivered them late. Some of the so-called violations were exaggerated or unsubstantiated. More importantly, I found that the HOA had not followed due process required by state laws regulating community associations. Armed with this information, I sought legal counsel. My lawyer explained that while HOAs have considerable power, they must operate within the law. Any attempt to auction property without strict adherence to procedure could be challenged in court. I filed a formal complaint against the HOA, demanding that the auction be halted immediately. We prepared for a hearing where I could present my case and expose the flaws in their justification. During the hearing, I detailed my history of timely payments and responsible property maintenance. My lawyer questioned the HOA representatives closely about their record-keeping and communication failures. The evidence showed clear lapses and a lack of transparency. The community began to take notice. Some neighbors, previously hesitant, started voicing support for me, questioning the HOA's aggressive tactics. A few attended the hearing to show solidarity, and some even shared their own frustrations with Karen's leadership style. The HOA board was forced to postpone the auction, citing ongoing legal review. It was a small victory, but a crucial one. It gave me more time to fight for my ranch. Throughout this battle, I learned how easily power can be abused when rules are enforced without fairness or empathy. It reminded me that knowledge and persistence are the best weapons against intimidation. I kept pushing, attending meetings, communicating with other homeowners, and rallying support. The fight wasn't just about me anymore. It became a stand for everyone's rights in the community. As the legal battle with the HOA dragged on, something unexpected happened. Neighbors who had once been silent began to speak up. Word spread about Karen's aggressive tactics and the HOA's heavy-handed approach, and many in the community started questioning how such actions could happen without proper transparency. Several homeowners reached out to me privately, sharing their own experiences of unfair treatment or intimidation. Some told me they'd been afraid to speak out for fear of retaliation, but my stand gave them hope. Slowly, a sense of unity began to build. At one community meeting, a group of concerned neighbors showed up with a clear message. The HOA needed to be held accountable and operate fairly for everyone. People who had never interacted with me before came forward as allies, offering support and encouragement. One longtime resident, Mrs. Thompson, spoke passionately about the importance of fairness and respect in the neighborhood. She emphasized that no one, not even a vocal HOA member like Karen, should wield power without oversight. This shift in attitude was a turning point. The HOA board, sensing the growing unrest and media attention from local news outlets that had picked up the story, began to reconsider its approach. Karen's influence started to wane as more voices demanded fairness and transparency. With the community behind me, I felt stronger than ever. I knew the fight was still ahead, but the knowledge that I wasn't alone gave me renewed energy and determination. Together, we pushed for reforms in the HOA's policies and clearer communication channels. The atmosphere changed from confrontation to collaboration, and even some HOA members began to admit mistakes. This moment, when neighbors united and stood up for what was right, marked the beginning of true progress. It showed me that no matter how isolated you may feel, strength comes from community and courage to stand up. After weeks of legal back and forth, community meetings, and mounting pressure, the HOA finally backed down. They withdrew the auction notice and agreed to review their policies and communication practices to prevent such a situation from happening again. More importantly, Karen was removed from her position on the board after other members and neighbors voiced their concerns about her aggressive and unfair tactics. The resolution was a huge relief, not just because I kept my ranch, but because it showed the power of standing up for your rights. This experience taught me valuable lessons about how HOA power, while necessary for managing communities, can sometimes be misused if residents don't stay vigilant. I learned that homeowners must know their rights and obligations clearly, keep detailed records of all payments and communications, and never hesitate to question or challenge decisions that seem unfair or unlawful. Transparency and due process aren't just legal formalities, they're protections that ensure everyone is treated fairly. Another important lesson was the value of community. The support from neighbors, both in private and publicly, was crucial in turning the tide. It's easy to feel isolated when facing a powerful HOA board or an overzealous member, but finding allies can make all the difference. For anyone facing similar HOA disputes, my advice is, don't ignore warning signs, respond quickly to notices, and seek legal advice if necessary. Document everything and build relationships with your neighbors. You might be surprised who shares your concerns and can stand with you. Most importantly, stay calm and persistent. Fighting unfairness is rarely easy, but with knowledge, support, and courage, you can protect your home and your community. This experience strengthened my resolve and taught me that homeowners have power, not just over their property but in shaping their community's future. And that's a lesson I'll carry with me forever. This story isn't just about a fight over a ranch, it's about standing up for what's right, even when the odds seem stacked against you. From the shock of hearing my property was being auctioned without warning, to the tense confrontation with Karen and the police, to finding strength through community support, each moment tested my resolve and showed me the power of courage and unity. The key takeaway: know your rights, stay vigilant, and never let intimidation silence you. Whether it's an overzealous neighbor, an unfair HOA, or any challenge threatening your home, your voice matters, and together, we're stronger. I encourage everyone watching to stand up for yourself and support those around you. Share your stories of fighting for your property or overcoming injustice. Let's create a community where fairness and respect come first. If you've experienced something similar, please comment below. Your experience might help someone else facing the same battle. Remember, your home is your sanctuary. Protect it fiercely and with pride.